Basically, from what I can understand, they're building technology where humans don't want to go, right? So, yeah.
So our technology learns from those few minutes of demonstration an operator would do, and then after that, operator can just take off. So he can, the AI would have learned that nuance and it starts replicating that job. Vegetation management is 100 billion a year market, right? Just in the US alone, right? So this is like just cutting grass in plain words. Like there's different kinds of grasses, different. At the same time, I was like testing out Tesla's autopilot, and I was like really intrigued. Hey, this is crazy! Like machine learning can actually go into real world and do this really. Uh, but I was like heavily dyslexic. I did have brains, but the problem is I test very bad. So we just rented a Ford 150, loaded a robot, just like unannounced, landed to all the farms during the move later. It's very clear that a software only company is not getting funded today. Like it has to have a physical element or a hardware element to actually for a NeuralPilot platform to teach their in-house humanoid to cook biryani the exact way that they want to cook. Once, and then the robot is able to pick up and then do whatever.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the Solve Fast Labs podcast. Another one, another day. And I have exciting guest here. I'm joined by Mohan Sivam, who's the co-founder and CEO of Neuralzome Cybernetics. So they built what's called the Mowack, an autonomous robot that clears weeds and stuff on 42-degree slopes. So that's quite steep. It also does precision weeding, millimeters from tree trunks, without ever destroying the tree or even scratching the bark as they mention it. And a key thing that I just saw on their website is they also help prevent wildfires. So basically, from what I can understand, they're building technology where humans don't want to go, right? So yeah, exciting stuff. So welcome, Mohan, to the podcast.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, Karthik. I'm looking forward for a conversation.
Perfect, perfect. So let's start with your journey, okay, Mohan. So your career, I don't know. I was looking up how to describe it. So the only word I could use is wild. Okay, so your career is wild. So you went from Hero MotorCorp, and then which is connected vehicles on Hero MotorCorp. Then you went on to building a gaming startup, which is Gamasome. Then you went on to do Flowmobility, a machine, and then now you're doing something with autonomous robots, climbing up a 42-degree hill and fighting wildfires, right? So, did you at any point in time look at a hill that steep and think, yeah, I'm going to send a robot up that?
So yeah, uh, I think described it right. I would say like the right word. So it is definitely a wild career. To sort of give a quick background, right? So I started off my career as even more wilder. So I started off making movies, basically directing short movies in college, and got cold feet to get inside the industry because where I come from, there is an industry called Kollywood, which is pretty difficult to survive if you don't have like background. So I decided like I would not pursue this and then switch my focus to software. And so like the proper beginning of the career is like I was building games for platforms like Android, iOS, Steam. And we built a company called Gamasome. We built many of IP-inspired titles and our own titles to global market. We got like many of these game titles that crossed over 1 million downloads. Crazy time, and this is all still during college. Um, and we moved out of college, spent like few years doing the same, and we realized like gaming is sort of a cyclist, like cyclical market, just like movies. You have like very low shelf value products, right? So you launch a game, you launch a movie, uh, it's great for like a quarter, and after that it tapers down. So I was more interested building something that will compounding. So I moved my company's focus and pivoted the company into a computer graphics company, which is building graphic tools and technologies for gaming studios, VFX studios in Hollywood, in Bollywood, across the world, and also quite a lot of simulation technology where we have to like really go deep into for a lot of like large Fortune 100 enterprises. Naturally, we got pulled into machine learning and AI in as early as 2015. We are building AI applications for an enterprise solution because, like at that point, software engineering was, building websites and mobile apps. Like anything else beyond like this gets complicated. You want to use some machine learning. Typically, the companies like go to like these kind of beyond normal curve of distribution companies like us, which does like simulation, computer vision, and stuff like that. So we built a lot of AI tools for US customers, US enterprises, public companies. That's how we basically slowly got into AI, and we did like hundreds of projects across the world, primarily in the US as well. During 2019, I did take, it's one of my rituals that I take like a lot of these crash courses wherever I go. So when I work with a customer in Pittsburgh, I take these courses in CMU. When I work with customer in California, I take some of these courses in Stanford. So I took a deep learning course in 2019. This is like already with like a four-ish years of background building machine learning models. Deep learning was just around the corner, and it sort of exposed me to the possibility of a wild future using machine learning. So that kind of experience, and like at the same time, I was like testing out Tesla's autopilot, and I was like really intrigued. Hey, this is crazy! Like machine learning can actually go into real world and do this really beautiful things. It can completely change the way that we live. So that all these experience combined made me to decide to like move out of this consulting kind of company and then like start building products. So at the time, my company Gamasome was already mature. My buddy and the co-founder Prasanna was already taking over most of the operations. So I opted to move out of day-to-day operations, resigned as CEO, and then started working on building my own startups full time. Initial point thought was like come back to India and build autonomous cars for India. Spent like little less than a couple of quarters, and then realized like 2019 was too early in India to think about like autonomous cars. At the time, I already like retrofitted my car to do like basic autonomy. I've built a data collection rig, collected possibly one of the largest Indian road data sets. This is like 2019 I'm talking about. And then came to a conclusion after like meeting like dozens of people in the industry. Like, yeah, this is not happening for a small company like us at this time. It's just too early. So I pivoted into what was already happening very wild. That was adoption of micromobility. I don't know if you remember, if you're aware or remember, in 2019 to 2020 was like the craziest time where all kinds of micromobility companies were like going wild in Bangalore. Yeah, there is Bounce, Vogo, Yulu, Rapido, Mobizi, and all those players. They were facing a big problem because they're not able to manage the fleet. Like there's all kinds of pilferages, there's all kinds of. It's India, right? The customer in the world is wild, so they're exploiting all these equipments and everything, and there was not like these are like India unique problems, and there was not like a ready-made solution from Lithuania or China for all the problems that India would face. So I pivoted the company from autonomous tech company to build a fleet management tech company. It's basically a hardware with like a cloud AI software that will go inside these machines, and based on the vibration, it will say to the fleet owners, "Hey, somebody's trying to pilfer petrol, somebody's trying to steal battery, all kinds of information." So that went well, and like for a year, we were able to scale to like about 120 units and across like here MotorCorp, Bounce, Vogo, Yulu, everybody. Then COVID happened. Unfortunately, very, very unlucky for me, micromobility was dead.
Yeah.
During the time, I was, like contemplating. Like at this time, like if you remember, nobody know how the world's going to be. And I grew up I grew up watching Hollywood movies playing like these Uncharted or Last of Us kind of game. That was exactly how Bangalore looked like. There is like trees fallen down on the streets to block people from moving out, and it was like a zombie apocalypse kind of world. And it was like a really psychologically testing people. For somebody like who's very active and hyper, we need action. We need to go to the field and do things. It was very, very, very interesting period of time. So during that time, one of our customers, Hero MotorCorp, reached out to us and they wanted us to help build their own electric vehicle that we're planning and the whole software infrastructure for it. So I was kind of acqui-hired, and I spent a year over there helping them architect the whole software stack, the cloud system, the vehicle system, the user design. I had a lot of experience, using Teslas in California, so kind of they liked all those experience, so they wanted to like implement all this technology on the vehicle that they were building. It's called Vida right now. It's launched in the market. So I spent a year uh, sort of architecting and building that whole system in a traditional IC company. So it was like a migration of them from being a Splendor company primarily to becoming an electric company. So I played some role over there. Then I co-founded, after a year, moved out and co-founded a company called Flowmobility. We explored many use cases and we got like great product market fit signals from construction material movement in India. Uh, like at this point, Flowmobility is one of the largest outdoor robot deployed company. We did a lot of core research. Like it was basically a Bangalore hard tech, deep tech startup episode, venture funded and everything. After years, I was more and more inclined to do large market applications and geography. I realized that a lot of robotic automation opportunity in Western market like US and Europe is like super huge, and we need to like super focus on that like today. So I moved out of the company and co-founded Neuralzome to exclusively focus on North American markets, building autonomous robots for outdoors mostly, and deploying AI technology to automate a lot of industrial use cases. Right, that's traditionally not possible before because in 2024 was like an inflection point where the neural nets for computer vision are performing very well, and the classical computer robotics paradigm of SLAM and all this thing have saturated whatever use case it could possibly. But now that a new use case are opening up because of this intelligent AI models, I want to like first to go to the market and kind of tackle it and acquire those use cases. So that was like the whole journey. It was like from gaming to self-driving technology to automotive movies. Like not a lot of people don't know about it. I was actually actor and assistant director kind of material when I started.
Wow.
Yeah, so it is a wild jump, but in a sense, like all the core technologies remain the same. It's all end of the day computer vision. It was all throughout through and through was like computer graphics and computer vision, and robotics is like a subset of computer vision. I used to like fine tune CUDA for making VFX in game engines. Now I'm fine tuning it to build AI models. So it's pretty much the foundation laid the same, but the industrial application was like very wild.
What? Wow. I'm still trying to understand. I thought that would be like a short intro there, and then it deserved it. I think it deserved from your
I took the
movies.
liberty of boring you all with like my life journey.
No, no, I think that was spot on. So in case somebody is listening, and wondering how to go from movies to lawn mowers, Mohan's already laid the path for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
So listen to Mohan here. All right. Anyway, my follow-up question, I'd made a question up for you, but I think you all answered it. So I was about to ask you, were you an accidental entrepreneur or did you always end up building things? It sounds like you had it in your DNA, but as a kid, I'll just ask you the question anyway. As a kid, were you ripping things out in your house, like taking TVs out, taking tape recorders out, or is this spark of doing something on your own? Did you find that after college, or what was that? What was that spark?
So I was mostly a tinkerer from very long period of time. So like as much as I could remember, just like the breaking the toys is like one of the earliest things any kid would do. Like break the toys and see like how it's working, how does a motors work. Obviously, like the regular curiosity of a kid. Like I was generally very curious, and I think one of the main reason behind this over curiosity on things is because I grew up watching a lot of movies and cartoons, and there are like cartoons like Texas Laboratory or Swat Cats or a lot more like these, which I don't know this generation people would not know. Those are golden age of cartoons when I grew up. Like amazing inspiration, like Batman and all this kind. It's all very tech enabled and it's so cool. So I was mostly drawn to that in the beginning. I actually loved aerospace and loved like electronics and stuff. That's basically how it started. So even through my college, I was basically tinkering a lot, right? So being a South Indian, this is like a very unique situation because typically you have a pattern. At least the millennial generation, we had like a pattern on how we basically do academically. So there's like you do high school, you score some mark, you go to a college, you get placed in placement, and then you sort of get immediately you get an apartment, get a car, get married. So that's like the template, or like you become a doctor and then you continue to study and then get. Uh, but I was like heavily dyslexic. I did have brains, but the problem is I test very bad. It just makes me anxious to just sit on like a one like whatever you're anxiously asked to like pour out whatever in a year, uh, within like a hour, and you're basically like you weighed based on whatever you write, right? So dyslexic, if you're writing it wrong, you just like, especially South Indian academics, they just like completely give you zero if you make a spelling mistake. And like far worse, even if you change like the sentence, they actually like cross it out and give you zero. So it because like of all this unfortunate situation, I didn't have like, really high expectation in my family. Like I was like, above average in the best. So he's not gonna do some crazy stuff. Let him just like do whatever he wants. So my society and my family allowed me to like pursue whatever crazy things I did. And there was not like a clear deadline on like or like a salary package benchmark that I have to reach like immediately out of college. So I had like this few years to like tinker around, screw around things, and then like naturally my curiosity got through all this whatever I did.
Wow, that is inspiring. I say that because I have I think my wife keeps saying I'm autistic as well, but it does. I can relate to you when you say that when you go to an exam, you kind of freeze a little bit, right? So, and you don't want to. I don't know, something happens, I'm with you that I've never been a fan of exams either. And then how can it, being able to decide what your career is going to be based on that one single exam? It's cruel and it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing the way you're doing it because you're charting your own career at your own terms, right? So that's exactly what should happen to people, to everyone, really. And I think we'll get into it a little bit. I think with AI, with Gen AI especially, I think that flexibility, the being able to express yourself, is a lot more easier now. I think compared
Yeah.
to any other point in time in the past.
Yes.
So yeah, that's super interesting to know you know how you ended up tinkering. So let's go back to Flowmobility and the Neuralzome Connect. Okay, you mentioned a little bit about Flowmobility there and moving construction materials. Can you give us a little bit more get a little bit more insight on what flow mobility was? What did you do there? And then what was the moment? You mentioned a little bit in your history about how you decided to move markets, and then you wanted to tackle a different problem in the North American and European markets, right? So can you talk about that and flow mobility and the thought process behind, and what led you to start Neuralzome?
Yeah, I think at Flowmobility, we started as a robotics company, like I would say late 2020 and early 2021-ish, actually. Um,
So
so,
this was still the your lockdown days.
so this is like yeah, still during like so there was like three waves of lockdown. So there's like 2020, 2021, 2022. Flowmobility, we did you know work on quite a lot of robotics autonomy opportunity in India. We explored. agriculture, we explored warehousing, manufacturing, industrial applications, and also in construction. And we did like a year and a half of exploratory time where we testing, like constantly shipping machines and testing out like whether which market works. And during that period, we found out, you know, really amazing this white spot in construction in India, which is
Mm.
typically a very hard industry to work with, and they for them, like when you have humans, like it's so cheap, it does not make sense to even think of automation. It's one of the hardest market to crack, right? But these use case that we found out of material movement was like very India specific, interesting use case, and it's across all the industry players in India. It's basically moving beyond like a single person can carry. Uh, when you want to like move like half a ton to 1 ton-ish kind of payload, it just the humans are efficient when you give them 25 kg. But if you want to move like let's say 400 500 kg, the more people you put on it, the efficiency goes down. So which means the cost for you to move that material from one location to another location, kind of goes through a depleting returns kind of curve. So that was exactly the kind of problem statements when we spoke to a lot of construction operators, like the field, the contractors. They were actually throwing out this problem, and then we found like yeah, here. So this is like completely we can solve. So we custom build a solution that would actually exactly cater their problem. And there's neither China or anywhere in the world have actually built that exact solution that works in Indian construction sites. So that's sort of a real quite a lot of field work that goes behind it before we even identify these kind of use cases. So we kept on going to them with these interesting applications, and they would like, yeah, great, like we'll use it. Hey, can you guys solve this problem as well? And that's how we found out this is a very interesting use case, and turns out to be very huge. We spoke a lot all the other construction players, and we realized, yeah, so this is absolutely something that needs to be built, and then we built it for it. And like after like a year of going to market, it's very clear that we got like product market fit and we're scaling very very good. That's when I really wanted to always like go back to US market, which I was like the first market I started, you know, actually monetizing. So I always wanted to like go back to US market because interesting product based AI applications, there's market to apply there. In India, you're basically because generally the market size is small. In US, you pick like if, for example, a janitorial service in US is like 100 billion a year market. Um, Vegetation management is 100 billion a year market, right? Just in the US alone, right? So this is like just cutting grass in plain words. Like there's different kinds of grasses, different application, but like just cutting grass and cost like 100 billion a year for US economy to just maintain their grasses, all the wild grasses that they have across the country. So any like vertical slice you pick would be like probably a few hundred crores in India, maybe like 100 billions in the US. So which means large market, large opportunity, like better unit economics. These kind of price points would like the labor is obviously expensive. Like in California, regular labor is like $80,000 to $90,000 a year cost for a company. So all these are amazing tailwinds to pursue US market from day one.
Yeah.
So that was like the whole thesis because like from working for many use cases industries in India, my mental model was India always love bandages. Right? They don't like vitamins and proteins. They want like there's a wound, they want to put a bandage, and they want to pay like at that 2 rupees for that bandage. Right? They don't want
I
to.
I I love this. Okay, did you come up with this bandages and analogy? It's amazing.
Yeah, but the US is slightly more long term because they can't afford to just get the bandage. Because in India, you can just get wounded and go to a doctor and pay like $500 and you're sorted. But in the US, you have to pay like $15,000, to do anything. Like, so they can't afford to do this short term strategy. Like, that's a good parallel, like, even other industries as well, right? So, they have because of their economic variables like cost of labor and the size of the market and the scale at which they're approaching, they are forced to always think like long term, and their financial and credit instruments allows them to do it. So that was like kind of a good tailwind market geography to actually sort of go with. So that's the whole point behind like, trying like really making large big moves in career to actually start building for the US from the beginning. And naturally, we did a lot of core research in flow mobility. So I had like exposure to computer vision, vision-based navigation, like pretty much like Tesla, like technology for like kind of closed door outdoor industrial applications, and found so many white spots, and that's why we started Neuralzome.
I loved a couple of things, okay, over there. Your analogy was amazing. And I like the fact, even in flow mobility, for people who are listening, I think you mentioned that you went and spoke behind the scenes on so many different use cases. And eventually they said, hey, can you solve this problem? I think that's key for,
Exactly.
entrepreneurs, right? Otherwise, you have a problem, people jump in and do the solution. And I love it. I love the fact that you went in and did so much research, and I also love your stats over there in terms of 100 billion. It's crazy. I didn't know that. For Yeah, it's crazy. And eventually, what you're actually doing is, once I'm sure you like, it's only a question of time before you exit NeuralZome, and then you can go back to all the people who've had a job and then say, hey, there's another way to live your life on your own terms. And I think there's a super interesting lesson there as well, right? Without doing exams, without getting stressed about exams. I totally identify that. My son, we had to get him an exemption here because he used to get stressed, and we had to go show proof and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm totally with you on that point over there, where So yeah, best of luck there, Mohan, for Neuralzome. So let's get on with Mowack. Okay, so I just want to know a little bit more about Mowack. As a tech founder myself, I'm curious. Okay, so you've got, from what I've read, correct me if I'm wrong, you've got the Pro, you've got the light versions of Mowack. The Pro is 15 horsepower. I think that clears brush on like a insane slope that even humans will not do. And then you've got the light version, which will do precision weeding, from what I've read. So walk me through what these machines actually do on the ground, and how does a robot know, for somebody who's listening in on the tech side, how does a robot know that's a weed or that's a valuable vine? Don't touch that. So if you can go into a little bit of the text, that'll be great.
Yeah. So the way we were approaching this market is that we were trying to find out what are all those use cases that is still open that make sense for us to make a machine or a robot for. Um, so the vegetation management industry is pretty already sophisticated. This is California we're talking about, right? So California is one of the largest agricultural output bed in the world. It makes all the 80% plus of all the dry fruits that's ever made in the world, and it makes more than half of all the fruits that the US consumes and exports. So it's one of the largest agricultural belt in the world, and it's a great geography, highly concentrated within like 3.5 hours of drive from north and south to San Francisco, and obviously they are very advanced in already technology adoption. Like significant amount of robotics is been deployed, like laser weeding and all this crazy technology already. So we actually want to go and find out a sizable market for us where the traditional technology, like the closed loop robotic control systems, are not solving today. If you see, like those are still done manually because those jobs require quite a lot of hand-eye coordination. And there's like many use cases, like strawberry picking and all those kind of things. Use cases still there, and so many companies have tried it. There's a graveyard of companies who try to do harvest. So we understood that yes, harvest is no-go zone because it's very time critical. You have like a 5-day window period to harvest a fruit in over year. So like if the robots is doing slow or and it's only used for 5 days a year, it's not useful. So we are basically, figuring out all those vertical slices across the life cycle of managing these, agricultural belt. And what came out to be the more regular one that's used is mowing. And there's all kinds of vegetation management. So vegetation management for a permanent crop, a perennial crop, and vegetation management for like fire safety and things like that. California, I understand, like it's one of the most fire prone, forest fire prone geographies. So they do have a lot of maintenance going on for all the wild grasses and brushes that's growing around. So we figured out that there's basically a use case that requires a human cognitive hand-eye coordination throughout the year in multiple form factors, and they spend some of the wild grass mowing. It even costs $1,000 an acre, right? So based on how slopey it is and stuff like that. So that's how like we identified there's like a very nice area where you can more or less have like one product line that can cater to all these use case from summer to spring to winter. So that's why we actually chose to go after this vegetation management market. And even in this market, there is a little bit of changes which can be completely done with almost the same hardware, and then you're basically updating software, which is pretty much low friction for us. So that's the whole thought behind it, and that's why we built Mowack. So before building it, we spoke to like we have traveled all the way from Red Bluff to Bakersfield across the Central Valley, spoke to like hundreds of farmers, hundreds of agencies before we actually spec out like what we needs to be built, and then we built Mowack. So Mowack has two variations. Basically, it's power range, like what is a like 6 horsepower and 15 horsepower, and we are working on like a 25 horsepower machine as well, which basically has different mowers like flail mower, rotary mowers to like cut grasses or like mulch these grasses um, in slope lands, across highways, across forest, in orchards, especially like organic orchards, where all of this still done like manually, doing this precise maneuver through the trees and around the trees without like hurting the irrigation pipes or sprinklers. So all these like they're a complex world, and your traditional technology will not work. Your GPS technology, lidar technology, slam technology will just not work in these use cases. You need to go end-to-end way, which is like an ideal use case for us, which we are basically the founding team is actually a bunch of computer vision researchers, like AI vision researchers. So we have like file patents and one of a kind patents, first time in the industry patents in India for that. So it was like a ideal intersection of where we are one of the best in the world, and is it like a great market that is ripe to capture today. So that's the whole sort of background behind building the product.
That's again stories there. But you mentioned about your founder. I want to take a quick detour there. So so can you tell us about the co-founder? You mentioned it's Prasanna. Uh, Go tell us a little bit about where you guys met. Obviously, before we were chatting, you mentioned a little bit about Prasanna. So it'll be good to understand what he does. You mentioned he takes care of some of the other companies. So can you give us a little bit more about your co-founder, your relationship with him, and all that?
Yeah, I think me and Prasanna met in school, in like in a 12th grade. It's 11th grade in our schooling time. We were in a boarding.
Were you both backbenchers?
Yeah, so we were not really the backbencher kind. So we are actually me and Prasanna met obviously in our boarding school doing 11th and 12th grade together in a school called Vidya Vikas in Namakkal. It's known to be the largest school in the state and the largest center in the state. Um, and and we were like not really those genius backbenchers. We were actually one of the hardest working in the school. So the school had like almost 15,000 12th grade or 11th grade. Like a batch had like 15,000 people, and you have like these large study rooms for early morning and late nights. We would be one of the first and last to get out of the study rooms because we are overcompensating for all our dyslexia and all our very bad memory by just like studying more. So we were more like trying hard to study, but the marks are really not cracking. But we do have the brains. So we actually literally teach our staff and the other students who actually score hundreds out of 100 in chemistry or physics. But we couldn't do that, like because we understand all this like complex quantum physics and theory of relativity, which people don't really have any idea about. We have like a very good understanding of it, but it's just hard to get that mark because you have to like memorize them and exactly replicate them in the exam. So that we are typically in that kind of category. And after our board exam, obviously we didn't like score crazy. I did like in a sort of a mediocre college, and Prasanna went to PSG, one of the like best colleges in the state, top two, top three kind of college in the state. We obviously stayed in touch. We were one of the good friends. During the time, Prasanna was like the window of the world to me. Like I grew up mostly in village, looking at like farms, rock, and dirt. And I don't like have much exposure other than watching like Hollywood movies or cartoons in my TV. Prasanna used to have like he's from Salem, is like a relatively big town, and exposure is very high. He's like, say, this is how the world is. There's internet and everything. It was crazy, and we stayed in touch through our college. Um, I used to like tell him like all these exploration I used to do, uh, because I was like in a okay college. I had all the freedom to do whatever I want. Like there's not like crazy studying. There's not competition with other batchmates to actually score like that 9 pointer kind of marks, CGP something. So he was always like very curious. He used to like listen to our stories, and we started the company like officially with another friend of roommate of mine when we graduated in 2014, and we continued to run it for like a couple of years. And it was very clear to Prasanna and me that we definitely have to start working together. Basically, I was building the dream that we were talking about in the dorm room on all those weekends, nights, all nights, and Prasanna was very clear. Yeah, so I think we have to do it. So I went on a dramatic road trip from Bangalore to Chennai, where Prasanna was working, and we were like looking at the Marina Beach for a sunset, standing like sitting on the bumper of my car, and I was telling Prasanna, I remember, Prasanna, you have to come join me. We are doing some crazy shit. We are made to build this, and Prasanna decided that yeah, like let me join.
Yeah.
So we,
Oh,
so I pulled him back into my the companies and projects I was building, and since then we have been building most of the products that we're working on together. um, you know, this is like our third company together, from gaming to simulation to AI to robotics. So working together through all the companies that I built. Yeah, so that's like a long 17-year-old relationship that we both have. It's kind of it's very hard to like find co-founders like that after finishing your school. So, like, the best co-founders are either your schoolmates or classmates, the college mates in college. After that, it's so hard to know somebody so deeply, and so co-founder is like a marriage, it's like a wife. So it's very hard to have that, get that kind of uh, closer affinity to people, to trust your life and mission, and then share it with them. So I was very lucky to have him on board.
oh, interesting. Very, very interesting stories. It's nice to hear that, you guys have carried on from school. And where does Prasanna, what are your complementary skills? So, what does Prasanna shine where? What is your strengths? What is Prasanna's strengths?
Yeah, so obviously, me and Prasanna are both technical. So we were both programmers, as game designers, game developers. We CAD, code, and design. So like technology side of it, we both have like decent exposure. But as I start building these businesses and companies, it was very obvious that there has to be one person completely focusing on, fundraising, financing, and sales. So I took that responsibility on me, and basically Prasanna was very good at like orchestrating a team, putting them together, getting things done. So that was like very complimentary, even though we had like a good understanding of technology. Operating and delivering something is something that Preston absolutely enjoyed. He was able to go to the nitty details and build systems, and systems design is his favorite. And me, like naturally, I was an actor, so I would like to just be on the stage and like perform. So I loved just like going to, even though I was like a introverted South Indian programmer, just I enjoy the experience when I show the technology to people and try to like, and a lot of people like through like till 2019 18, we had like no salespeople in our companies. It's just like engineers like building solutions for like great customers. But like we often get addressed, hey, like you are a very good convincer. You're like doing a very good sales pitch. Like, hey, like I'm just like trying to like show you what we can do, and like so that I got this kind of feedback quite a lot, and realized, yeah, so maybe like I'm natural and I should act like a great salesman. Like I'm just act like whomever we can, like we can do method acting. So so I naturally took that kind of role, and then we kind of have been having this complementary skills at the table and building these companies.
Wow, that's nice. Sales is hard, okay? So, I'm coming at it the other way. I love building tech and products and, user experience and stuff like that. But But when you're honest, I think that's what comes across, I guess, when you know the technology and then you're trying to show off your technology with a passion, like what you're saying. You are not trying to sell, but you, because the genuine nature of your intention is coming out, and because you're so genuine, I think people like it. People love the fact that they can trust this person, right? And you are able to build that. That's what I've seen, at least, where and I think that's where people who can sell, if they come from internally, who built the product, they make the best salesman, right? Even without trying hard. So that's very interesting. So I've let me move on. Okay, I had a few more questions for you on Mowack and the platform. So I'm going to ask you one big question. Go through all the aspects. So there is two aspects. One is the neural pilot and red pill, from what I've read from your website. By the way, I don't know if it's a matrix reference that you have on the red pill, blue pill, but I'll let you answer that. And then you've got some cool photorealistic digital twin technology, apparently, to train robots. Love to hear more about it for all the people who are interested more in tech. And and the other bit that I want you to cover is mission control, which is your dashboard as well. So if you can talk about all of these three, and have there been any instances where the robot says, no, I'm gonna not gonna take the red pill, I'm gonna take the blue pill, right?
So yeah, you're right. So like we are movie buffs, so whatever we're gonna name is gonna be very pop culture reference for sure. So like I'm a big fan of Matrix, and even the robots we built, it's named Chitty after the movie Robo, right? So it's like we do have like a lot of pop culture reference for sure. So I'll explain what we are building as a core technology, and then maybe like go after all the components of it. So the core technology we're building is called NeuralPilot. So NeuralPilot is kind of a teach and train stack. So it's an AI that can sit on any kind of bots or machine. It has all the sensors and compute on it. So an operator could operate the machine using NeuralPilot as well, and then teach the machine what to do. So basically, perform a task that's like not like standard autonomous navigation through SLAM. Like if you want to perform something like do some work or cut precisely weeds, or pick something, place something. So these kind of tasks are sort of uh, very stochastic in nature. So you cannot like using deterministic system program those kind of tasks. It requires like cognitive skill. So our technology learns from those few minutes of demonstration an operator would do, and then after that operator can just take off. So he can the AI would have learned that nuance, and it starts replicating that job perpetually at scale. So that's the core technology that we're building. It's called NeuralPilot. It's an imitation teach and train stack. Taking this, basically, it's we also build interface called mission control that basically enables you to get in the shoes of the robot and then see what robot sees and operate all the actuators of the robot with like intuitiveness, because we come from the gaming background, so we build like very intuitive designed operation systems to operate a machine. It's pretty much like a game, and then you operate it, teach the AI what to do, and then the robot takes over and then does the job like perpetually at scale. So that's basically the core technology. We build like bunch of robots. Like we pick these use cases. We basically have this generalist platform, and on which like we add like these attachments and add-ons for like different use cases, and we offer that support into our NeuroPilot platform, and people can just go in and then do a bunch of work with those add-ons, and then the learning is stored, and then the robots just autonomously operate based on that.
Oh, that's amazing. So what is the no code angle? Is that the no code angle that you're as well talking about within NeuralZone? You say no code teachable AI agents. Is that what you said when by okay. Okay,
Exactly.
sounds good.
So it's easier to scale to the long tail of applications with that kind of approach.
Can you
Because
give
if
us can
you're
you give one example, Mohan, on this no code teaching? Uh, you know, so just to give context for the users.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think let's say like if you have uh, you know a perennial orchard, or let's say like you are picking and placing things in a thermoforming factory. what the world is very unstructured, right? There, one farm will look like something, and if you go just to walk across and see another farm, there is like all these micro differences. So because of the real world is messy and there is no uniformity, and
Hmm.
there's so much permutations of variability, you cannot really program deterministically something to be done. Hey, go there, pick it. When you, if you program that, like there will be like the whatever you need to pick or move will be like different in orientation, different in color.
Yeah.
It's not just possible. So you need the ability for the machine to constantly learn in the ground. So it may have like a basic, you know, in now the AI industry we call like pre-trained intelligence, but there's all these AI models may have generalized intelligence layer, but like when it comes to action, there's always the last 5% gap in different applications, even in the same application in different environments. So this 5% gap is the difference between a robot being deployed and not deployed in the use cases, and we come in and fill in that gap across like different environments, different use cases. So you take the already slightly intelligent robot and then make them very well kind of expert in that specific job that has to be done on that specific field or environment, and then that bridge the gap that the robots have today, and then it will continue to scale, and you can continue to teach them new use cases. It will get more and more intelligent for your target use case and environment over a period of time. So even let's say like if some new variability comes and starts making mistake, you can just like simply take over through our platform and then show, hey, this is how you kind of handle that mistake, and the learning goes in. So it's a ability. It's a platform through which uh, industries can have their robots recursively learning, through its lifetime, not like come with like one fixed intelligence and that doesn't like move anywhere from there at that point of time.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Wow, that's really cool. Um, I just want to talk about one use case, this which blew my mind. You had one example in your website where you talked about you're clearing out brush for a defensible space compliance kind of use case, basically wildfire prevention. You mentioned this a little bit ago. So you had a case where apparently no contractor would take 20 acres of hilly terrain, and Mowack did it 3 days or something like that. At what point do you think that fire departments, like what you said, are salivating at the prospect of putting your robots everywhere? And can you talk about that and yeah, fire and the fire prevention use case?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the so typically all there's like hundreds of thousands of acres of wild grass brushes that's growing across, let's say, California, right? And there is like a Cal Fire mandate that you have to maintain these brushes at certain condition. You have to like regularly mow them, or else like whether it is the government, federal or state or private property, Cal Fire penalizes you for that because you are a matchstick for wildfire if you don't do that, right? So one of the biggest uh, cost centers for contractors and agencies to do those like mowing is people participation, right? So there is actually one person to one machine, either sitting on top of it or remote control operating it, to actually like doing like very sensitive 45-50 degree slope brush mowing. Problem is, uh, you know, if you were doing one-on-one parity, might as well the person sit on the robot. What we provide them is ability to deploy multiple robots per machine through our NeuralPilot platform, where a person can monitor up to like 4 or 5 robots. So which means we're multiplying his man-hour output per man-hour to output ratio by 4 or 5. So that's basically the biggest cost center for agencies to operate the service. So we bring down the cost center by increasing the output per person with our NeuralPilot technology.
Wow, that's quite a impressive thing to do. Okay, so if you were, we've talked a bit about Movac. So, who's your dream customer for the technology now? So we spoke a little bit about fire prevention. Is it? We spoke about orchards, vineyards. Where does it fit the best?
Yeah, so there are uh, very large contractors. Like we would love to be a contractor slash customer for Cal Fire. Um, there is like largest vegetation management operator beyond fire safety is PNG. They have
Mm-hmm.
to like do vegetation management across their gas lines and electric lines. That would
I
be a
see.
very interesting prospect. And there's other larger growers like Taylor Farms, Onam, and the many other players who actually grow hundreds of thousands of acres of orchards,
I see.
which requires weeding, mowing, Driscolls, like these are berry growers
Mm,
who like mowing, weeding periodically throughout the year. So those are like very interesting customers that we wanna work with, and we are constantly trying to have conversation with them, figure out like where we can add value, and then provide that to them.
I see. I see. Good, good, good. I'm sure you'll crack them soonish. Sounds like, you've got the right team there. So let's move on to your talk. You've spoken about, Mowack and the product. So I just want to move around to what your daily life looks like, any operational challenges. So you've got, from what I can see in the website, you got 10, 11 people, you've raised funding, right? So you're expanding from Bangalore to obviously to California. So what does a day look like for you, Mohan? And, does it start with coffee or does it start with a Slack message about a robot that's not behaving?
Yeah, at this point, I couldn't really point where my day starts because as a company, we have 24 bots on operations. There is
Okay.
a Bangalore company continuously building software and pushing into robots, and
Mm,
there is a US operation which is like completely 12-hour offset, opposite side of the earth. So the work is going on in the company like all time of the year, all time of the year, and all time of the day. And at some point, you have to like put my phone on like D&D to stop having those Slack messages or like Discord messages waking me up. So yeah, generally like I wake up and then look into all the upgrades. The day before we sleep, you just like rant to our team, man, these are all the problems. This could have been better, and these are things we need. When we wake up, like they would have made the best attempt to like solve this problem and push an update. So they'll just like give a brief of it. So I wake up looking at it. Then I will take a coffee to just like digest that thing, and then we'll go out for the field for testing or go out for a field to like speak to customers and understand about their problem better, and magically the rest of the day just goes just doing that. Yeah.
sounds like, I hopefully you're getting some sleep there. If you're, in between yeah, 24 hours. Yeah, take care of yourself. It's important because, it needs a Mohan and obviously a Prasanna to make your company successful. So,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean we
yeah.
we do try to get sufficient sleep, but you know what? One of the things Kunal Shah said, without without staking or risking your health, mental health, physical health, and reputation, there is no substance created. So yeah, there is no balance. Obviously, I think you cannot like always have. You're not doing like 9 to 5 to have like this consistent time of sleep every time, but we try our best to sort of keep our health in check and keep our diet that's basically optimized to support our like demanding life kind of thing.
Best if you get Driscolls as a customer, you can get a lot of berries. All the good, I mean, you are supporting, all healthy companies. So hopefully, um,
I,
that
I eat berries regularly in the morning. First thing that I eat.
that's a good opening line when you meet Driscolls, right?
Yes.
All right, good, good, good. So, speak a little bit about your fundraising, Mohan. So, you guys raised 2.4 million, and I can see that there's like a lot of VCs a lot of VCs in that cohort. So, getting that many VCs to agree is probably harder than a robot going up 42 degrees. So, what was that fundraising journey for you like?
Yeah, I think this is the first time I was in charge of fundraising in a company. So this is like you can say like even though like I built and run like venture fund companies before, this is the first time I'm the CEO who's in charge of fundraising. So the whole experience were like first time for me as well. I think I mean, this is like probably like over advised online, but it's just like what's very important is like getting those first one or two yeses from believers. And in the early stage, it's more about how you think and what you actually want to build than like what's the traction you already have. Um, so in my case, before even building a product, I went and spoke to hundreds of people. I recorded those videos. From that, I clearly was able to understand like these are the gaps that they have, and I made them to sign LOIs and like give me contracts for those first machines before even I start building the product. So I did the field work first. Like I spent all the money in flight, flight tickets, Uber, and days in than like spending tens of thousands of dollars in buying sensors and trying to make robots. So I think our investors I think they have able to notice that we are problem and use case first before we start building the product, and that sort of gave them conviction, and the first few yeses from our key investors kind of avalanched into other small investors who came in and then pledged for our thesis and the company. So it was a it was like a pretty interesting journey. I looked at it as like a funnel. One of the first yeses was so the first investor to put in money was Sriram, who himself is a exited robotics entrepreneur in agtech industry. Um, so he gave me exposure to very critical industry events, industry insights, and that led me to make sure that I take this like path of like problem first then product. And after like I went to the market and find out like what are the use cases. The first investment was actually from Saumitra from Operator Studio, and he just told me that there's one thing I never forget. So I know you can do great sales. Just look at fundraising like that. So basically, everything is a funnel. So if you end up speaking to hundreds of people, there is statistically one or two people is going to say yes. Like the conversion is going to happen, and all you need is like this one or two first yeses to go score the rest of the round. And he started out an avalanche of introductions, and I went to like spoke to. I think I've spoke to like 85% of all the VCs in India. I've done like some 400 to 500 calls with all of them, and basically I knocked every doors. I did not take no for an answer from a fund. We are building it for US from India in hardware in deep tech. It's not well understood in India. Obviously, it's kind of a it requires like investors with like background in US market to actually trust in us. We had like very early belief from Atex Ventures, TurboStart, and Avinia, who are actually key lead investors to actually make this fundraise possible. Now, at that point of time when we raised money, we were the largest pre-seed round for robotics in India, if I'm not wrong, one of the largest at least. So it was definitely a very interesting journey for me from scratch to get that round done.
Wow, that's it's interesting to know that you've done so many calls. Did it take up a lot of your time then as part of your pre-seed?
I
When did?
think you're as a founder during fundraise is like a full-time job.
Yeah,
I think we have to like do role play. Like, before starting the fundraise, my full-time job was just sales. I was not like trying to design product, build product, build
yeah,
team. First, I did the market exploration, found out what needs to be built, made the sale. Then I raised capital and also built the team. Then like now we are in the field, and now we are not like doing fundraising or preparing for next fundraising. We're absolutely focused on like trying to get to the metrics that would get us to the next fundraising. So I
yeah,
think
yeah.
startup has very less resources, so we have to be very careful on where we spend time. When we are like it will be a time where like yeah, now all the company needs is this, so we just like laser, everybody is just focusing their intensity on one point. That is the best way to build in the early stage. So yeah, we I did spend like 100% of my time in fundraising when I was fundraising.
Okay. So let's talk about, you mentioned a little bit about scaling, right? So obviously when you guys are going to scale, in a matter of time. So now you've got like 20 odd robots, so you've got 10 odd people. So let's say you go to 100 odd robots or more than that. Where do you think the scaling pain is going to come from? Is it the hardware, software, or your sanity?
That was a good one. So, so we actually are have deployed our robots for about like 10 farms right now, and we are iterating with customers to reach the PM of the basically you can build till 95 in isolation and by just like getting contracts and specification, but the last 5% happens in the field. So we are actually in that stage. So we are basically iterating with the customers, early customers, adopters, to exactly make this person 100% what is needed for the market. So I think uh, we don't try to chew problems of future now. uh, right now like all of us are focused heads down on trying to make this product draw out the right value that we think it should for our customers. And the long term is that so when you build the foundations right, so if you pick a large market and if you pick a better geography and customer segment who's willing to pay and willing to throw money at the problem, uh, the only focus should be like making the product exactly give the value that the customer seeks. And once you do that, market will scale you, right? So that's the beauty about this hardware is that when one farmer, large grower understands there is like a 40% ROI, 40% savings, and there is like, ROI within like, 2 quarters or 3 quarters, it's going to catch like a fire. And it's one of the use cases for my first investor, Sriram, when he built this robot for aquaculture. When it starts showing ROI and it's reducing costs for growers, it catch like a fire all over the world. And that's how he got like acquired within like 2 years, 3 years of building that product. So that's like typically the phenomenon that you see. So now the focus is like trying to get the product to that point where like, yeah, this clicks, this is gonna save money, this can scale. Like moving is like a 100 billion a year vegetation market, and there's a lot of other neighborhood use cases, maintenance, like property maintenance, hospitality, and those kind of things that this can scale to. Once click that point, yeah, a product that has this kind of healthy supply chain that can be built at this kind of cost, and we can do this margin and then add value to the customer. I think that's when like market will scale you. Investors will give you money. They will give introductions to the right people who can build factory, who can scale supply chain. All these things will happen like mostly out like because of like a great product. So that's basically how we think about it.
That's spot on. And I love your, I mean, from the, I love your market first approach, building products that it's amazing. It's like music to my ears, basically. As a tech founder, building a product, for me, the same thing. That's the only thing I look at when I talk to my customers. Hey,
Yeah.
is he happy? Are they using, just listen to what their problems are. I mean, like what you're saying, keep them happy. And if they're happy, then, market will scale you. That's a great term as well. So, yeah. So I want to also ask a little bit about customer education and then finding customers, right? So when you let's say new, how do you approach this problem? Let's say you walk to a new farm and then you want to talk to them about Mowack, and say, hey, I've got an autonomous robot that will mow your farms, and at day or night, and it'll go up your 40-degree slope. Do they say, yeah, let me try it out, or do some of them say, hey, I'm not letting a robot anywhere near my trees? How do you approach that?
So very true. So when I decided like, yeah, the vegetation management is the way to go. So one of the unique capabilities of our team is that we have this blitz, like explosive execution. So when we know that, yeah, we need to build a mower, autonomous mower, uh, I flew like five six of my engineering engineers here to California. Within like 2 weeks, we had no idea about India as US. Like we don't know any connections, we don't know supply chain. 2 weeks fly them here. By end of 2 weeks, we are already we they built a machine that was already in the field. So that's like one of the core unique capabilities of Neuralzome is that our team can just execute work day night, and then when it's needed, they can just actually get things done. Which you would very normally don't see. Like for outdoor robots, typically people take years and if not like quarters to make a machine. But we could just like churn off these any kind of form factor machine like within like a couple of weeks or within months. So first one when I came to know about this use case, we I flew them and like 10 days we actually had the machine out, and then basically we need field deployments to make the product refine the product better, right? So initially we are not looking at scaling distribution. So when you want to scale distribution, you need to go top down approach where you need to speak to the decision maker, and then like you get like others try to get a buy-in and then sell the product. But in the initial stage, we are like verifying this product if it is good and like finding out where it is bad and then what needs to be added. We need to add it. So we went bottom up approach. So we just rented a Ford 150, loaded a robot, just like unannounced, landed to all the farms during the mowing season across Central Valley, and like we would meet like hundreds of, like every day we'll go to 4 to 5 farms. Hey, look at this like this machine is here right now in your field. Do you want us to mow this place? And we keep doing it, and hey, now you saw that we mow like 1 acre. Can you just pay me like 80% of what you already pay for the next acre? And they would actually pay for it. So that's basically how we figured out that, yeah, so the customers are, you know they're not going to first like agree to pay if the machine is not doing good, and they're not going to agree to pay you from day one because they need to see the machine. So I see the service element is kind of very absent in the US. Like nobody go sell them at their farm at their convenience. Offer the service at their farm at convenience is the whole labor is like always the biggest problem. So we were ready to uh, put that effort, go to the field, do labor work basically. Like it's not like fancy robotics company CEO like sitting in an AC chair. Like this basic every day I'm washing my pants out of dirt and taking like scrapping the dirt off the truck and stuff like that. So it's basically literally in the dirt. Your hands are dirty with clay and everything. So we just like did that field work. So that's how we approach it. Um, till like the product like looks better and kind of clicks that point where, yeah, this is like generating ROI within like a couple of quarters and saving like 30 to 40% of the money. I think this is how typically we go, and we already started working on the top down strategy because that takes time. Like we need to get the right avenues, right introductions, right network. We get ourselves into like right accelerators, incubators, associations to actually eventually end up speaking to the decision maker. But at that time, you already have to have validated field work. So you need to have like sufficient robot that's building exactly what needs to be built, doing exactly the interesting ROI. That gets generated by the bottom up approach. And then eventually, when we reach there, like we have something ready, yeah, like now let's make the decision. Let's buy like 100 of these machines and go for it. So that's basically the whole thought process.
I mean, amazing. I mean, I have no other words to say there, Mohan. To be able to go and then provide them a service and then winning their trust.
Yes.
I don't think there's any other better way that you can do it, but it's amazing. It's like very inspirational. So I think people who are building, I mean, I've spoken to another person who's building physical AI robot, physical AI, something like imitation learning. But I think they have some lessons to learn from you. It's amazing. So thanks for sharing that, Mohan. So I mean, I love this question. Let me ask this on your bottlenecks and stuff. So I call this the magic wand question. So let's say tomorrow you get a magic wand that you can wave, and then one bottleneck at Neuralzome disappears. Okay, so not in the robot itself, but obviously the running the company, right? So what what is it? What is it that will disappear if you had like a magic wish, magic wand?
I think for a new immigrant founder in US, like that magic wand would be like a map view that tells me who are the people I should go speak to. So that would be an amazing magic that I would love to have, because you have to build the network from ground up, and it takes time. And again, like I look this as a funnel, right? So like I speak to 100 people, and three people are like maybe 10 people are the most important people that I'm supposed to speak to. So like I would love to increase my hit rate, and that is definitely an interesting magic that we would subscribe to.
So it's just so I understand, you're talking about your potential customers, or you're talking about funders?
Yeah, potential customers,
Potential
right
customers.
distribution partners. There are like early adopters. There are like naysayers. Speaking to the right prospect and giving them more time, more of your time to actually speaking more detail to them would be a gift. This is like very current stage, uh,
Yeah.
current stage situation. Right now, if you ask me that question, I would say like map you. Hey, these are the people you need to speak to get to this KPI, and let's just go speak to them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So my last segment, I know we're running a little bit over time, but it's been amazing. I mean, you're inspirational, Mohan. I mean, I've done a lot of founders, but the way you're approaching problems, it's truly inspirational. So let's go to this question is a little bit about the Gen AI moment. You've been doing AI for a longer time, but for a lot of the world, the November 2022 when ChatGPT dropped, everything, everybody and everybody's uncle was an expert on AI, right?
Yeah.
So how did that did that help you in a business, or they are like every did it help the fact that you've been working in AI long before ChatGPT? What impact did that ChatGPT have, or Gen AI have in general? Versus we hear a lot of stuff of which obviously on physical AI, from the figure AI to humanoids to Elon Musk's company to, obviously, if you can talk a little bit about Gen AI, the impact within Neuralzome or other startups that you did, what is real versus hype, according to what you're seeing, that'll be amazing.
Yeah. So, like, I think as somebody who had seen like many cycles, right? So I've been seeing cycles since 2013, from mobile apps to uh, sharing economy hype, then to VR, then there is blockchain, then there is metaverse, and then
Mm,
there's AI. So like there is enough cycles that I've seen, you know, throughout my career. So that kind of gives you a little bit understanding to how to approach hype, right? So
yeah,
typically most of the companies and value is built like post that bell curve. So the hype comes, it will go, and then it will go down, and slowly it takes off. So that is something that I've been able to like see the pattern, and maybe like because of being there for a long time, that perspective sort of helps to pick the right problems. But I also think it's very uh, person specific, right? So I actually saw a Stanford researcher show me a demo of CodeGen in 2017, and this is before deep neural nets. I think it was still like neural nets, but this is before like transformer architecture, right? So I already knew that good chunk of these software would be sort of completely disrupted, uh, and there is no more software based moat anymore. The moat is basically your connections into industry, your position to take the right insight. If you're customer facing roles in many way, you would know what customers want, and if you spent 10 years in industry, you would know most of the details of the problem. Uh, and ability to raise capital and acquire distribution. So that's basically where the moat is. So that is around the time when I stopped like coding, and then like started working on skill sets that would be relevant 10 years later. And that is why I also started focusing on hardware, because while it's quite easy to like right now, it's almost 8 years later, it's very clear that a software only company is not getting funded today.
yeah,
Like it has to have a physical element or a hardware element to actually build a moat for it. So, and moat in hardware does not get built in 1 or 2 years. The kind of background building hardware is knowing these systems very well. A decade of background in hardware is basically a know-how, right? So that's actually a very good mode to have right now. It's kind of a long-term strategic plan I've had for myself. Okay, so let's build things that would last for, like, a generation. Acquire skills that is relevant till I'm dead. Those are like still ability to speak to people, ability to find way to actually get the right introductions, the right conversations, extract insights from speaking a lot of people, work hard and approach things as a funnel wherever you go. So and ability to build the whole supply chain hardware to actually build any form factor to come to you imagine, you can just like build a form factor like very rapidly, and what thing having the knowledge of what works and not work. So these are the areas where I was basically building my experience on, and that sort of turned out to be true. It's right now, like, everybody says, yeah, software is going to be replaceable, but in California, in San Francisco, all most of the people like who are close to research knew that software is going to be fully automated. So it took that time to prepare myself and reorient myself from like being a pure software engineer to like a full stack engineer. It's a hardware, electronics, software together. So that kind of worked out well for me.
Wow, that's impressive that you had that foresight 10 years ago. Because I mean, to be fair, even now some software engineers are still in denial, still think that software, there is some aspect of humans needed, but it's great foresight that you had to,
I think
you know,
software engineers are still going to be there. So like there is going to be more AI being used. So there'll be even more softwares be built. There'll be even more software engineers, but the fundamental skill is going to change.
yeah,
Now it's all about what is your nimbleness to quickly learn different tools and workflows. Do you have the fundamentals strong to understand, like from OSI layer to, like, the application layer? So that is what is an important skill. Not like a specific library in React or a specific library how to use a tool, uh, Tableau or something like that. Yes, exactly. So that's not important. That would get replaced, but like understanding computer fundamentals is the main skill to learn. I think there'll be more software engineers vibe coding. There'll be more usage of AI. 99% of all the code will be written by AI, and there'll be 1,000% more software built than it is built in the last decade for
no,
sure.
I agree. I'm totally with you there. So, one last question before I go to my last section, which is a rapid fire. Okay, and then we close. Okay, so just put yourself 5 years from now. We're living, what would the ideal world for Neuralzome look like? What is your vision for Neuralzome?
Yeah, I think 5 years from now, we've deployed like tens of thousands of robots on RaaS model. Uh, you know, that we started seeing neuralism robots in everyday life, in streets, in houses, in factories, in farms. Um, you know, um, and people using our NeuralPilot platform to teach their in-house humanoid to cook biryani the exact way that they want to cook. Once, and then the robot is able to pick up and then do whatever they want forever, and keep teaching nuances to the robot. Uh, you know, there's a platform where people can upload pasta making skill or cleaning the bathroom skill, and then people can just like use NeuralPilot to like download that and then kind of get that benefit. So that would be a very interesting world for Neuralzone. Yeah.
Wishing you all the best, Mohan, for that. I'm sure, you just need to find a lot more people. You're anyway talking to a lot of people and then get their feedback. Go to different bathrooms and see how the robot performs. Yeah,
You know,
amazing. Yeah.
like after I'm married, like it is very clear that there is clearly a specific way things has to be done. The, the queen of the house always needs things to be done a specific way.
Correct, correct, correct.
Imagine like a humanoid that could teach a queen can teach, a robot to do exactly cleaning work exactly the same way.
Absolutely,
That would
absolutely.
be like an amazing, application for neural pilot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. So let's move. It's 5 more minutes hopefully, and then just give me quick answers. Okay, it's a rapid fire round. Okay, so okay, let's start. Okay, so favorite robot from a movie. You can't say Terminator.
Oh, hands down, Chitty.
Okay, steepest slope or Mowack has actually conquered.
I think we toppled it down when we were trying to do 55 degrees. Yeah.
Okay, so the another one, best piece of startup advice you ever got.
I think do what is natural for you, and it's hard for others.
Worst advice you got.
Startups are the great way to get rich quick.
That's a good one. So if Mowack had a personality, what would it be?
I think I want to refer, Chitty character
Okay,
from
okay,
Robo movie. Yeah.
perfect. You love Chitty. So, okay, one thing people get completely wrong about robotics.
It's not about the core robotics hardware technology. It's more about go-to-market and distribution. Everything except the technology. That's what robotics is about. Yeah.
So, advice for founders. Okay, so now for somebody in Bangalore right now thinking about starting a deep tech company, what do you tell them? Run from this, or let's go.
I mean, I still have to like accomplish quite more before I give out advices, but yeah, I think figure out good intersection of what you're really good at and what you love doing and what people are willing to pay money for.
Okay. I think with that, Mohan, I think we're gonna close. So I mean, this has been amazing. I mean, one of the best, hands down. I wish you from the bottom of my heart all the best. Okay, for NeuralZome, and I'll be keenly following how NeuralZome is doing. So with that, thanks a lot. Okay.
It's a pleasure, Karthik. Thanks for having me on this podcast.